Hey guys, welcome to an introduction to chapter 12, which is teaching with technology. Let's get started. So, in chapter 12, we're going to cover a few main topics. For example, we're going to cover how teaching with technology can affect the students, and we're going to cover how teaching with technology can affect the teachers as well. So let's get started with how teaching with technology can affect the students. Whenever we're incorporating technology into the classroom, it's going to be very important to make sure that we consider a few things. For example, are the resources that the students are using or that we're trying to get the students to use, are they accessible outside of the classroom and even inside of the classroom? Do the students have access to these devices individually, or is there going to be a a community resources that each one of the students have to take turns with using? So all of these things need to be considered whenever we're introducing more technology into the classroom. On the other hand, if we're trying to get technology into the classroom um, and also incorporate it for homework or for lessons outside of the school, do students have access to these resources outside of the classroom? So all of these things should be considered whenever we're trying to teach with technology. Another thing to be considered is motivation. Do the students even like technology? Not all of them are going to, be very open to using technology every day or with every lesson. A lot of them are going to, be more hands-on and more pen and paper. So we just need to make sure that we're considering their motivational levels. Are they willing to adopt or adapt um, if they're not motivated right now? Are they willing to change? Are they willing to allow this technology to become a part of their school and become a part of their educational lifestyle? And another thing that chapter 12 covered is the use or the term digital natives and digital immigrants. For example, a digital native, according to the book, is going to be a person who was born with technology or personal devices throughout their life. So they were born with it and they grew up with it as a child, and it pretty much became a part of their lifestyle. On the other hand, a digital immigrant is going to be a person born prior to the technological age. So someone who wasn't necessarily born with technology, or it can even be an individual who was born in this technological age, but they are novice to the use of the technology. So we have these two different um, two different mediums that we can classify people as or classify the learners as when it comes to incorporating more technology into the classroom. Now, when it comes to teaching with technology, um, I found a video on YouTube that we're going to take a look at. This video is um, a video of Jason doing a TED Talk. Now, Jason is a year 13, which is equivalent to our high school seniors student in the UK. And he's going to just explain a little bit about how we can incorporate more technology into our classrooms and how he, as a student, would love to just see more technology into our classroom. So let's just take a quick second to get a feel of what this is going to be about. And again, I'm going to share the link with you so you guys can watch the video in full on your own. But we're just going to take a quick little snippet of what this video is about.
have a think about that for a moment. How powerful is that? So there's absolutely no doubt that computers have transformed the office and our homes and the way that we work and how information is delivered to us. But what about schools? Are we utilising this technology in schools?
So I'll be sharing a link so that you guys can finish watching the video in full and just reflect on that. And if you want to, you can share in the discussion on what your thoughts were with this video. Now that we have the student part of it taken care of, let's jump into how teaching with technology affects the teachers. Now, in the same way, teaching with technology can affect teachers with their by their motivation. So, are these teachers willing to change? If teachers have been teaching for a while, they're going to become accustomed to their routines and to their patterns. So, are they motivated to change? Are they motivated to add, you know, more technology into their classroom and switch up and basically come out of their comfort zone? So that's something to consider whenever we're trying to implement more technology into the classrooms on a teacher aspect is are they willing to change and you know come out of their comfort zone if they're so used to teaching without technology, if that's the case. Another thing to consider is are they going to be trained? Is there going to be a any sort of professional development that's going to train the teachers who, let's say, are novice and don't have a clear and strong background in technology? Will there be any professional development to push them forward and to get them to that point where they can fluently transfer the knowledge back and forth using this technology? So, um, is there going to be any professional development or training from the district or from an outside party that's going to provide these teachers with the resources that they need um, to become more effective teachers with technology? Because in in the book, it also mentions how some teachers are um, they could feel threatened by this technology, so they might not want to implement this technology into the classroom because it could eventually replace them, and that's the thought process that comes to a lot of these teachers who've been in the classrooms for so long without technology. They're afraid that if they implement more technology into their classroom, that there may be a time where the technology is going to supersede them, and their their basically their existence in that classroom will be taken over by the technology. So again, if they're not trained the right way, then that's going to be a big factor in how the technology is going to be used within the classroom. And another thing to keep in consideration is the technology going to be accessible? And again, just like we mentioned when when we were talking about the students, is this technology going to be accessible for the teacher to distribute amongst each one of the or each one of the students? So are there going to be individual devices? Are there going to be community devices? Not only that, is there going to be enough? Is all of the technology going to work? These are all things that just need to be considered whenever we're trying to incorporate teaching with technology. So, in the book is going to cover a lot more in depth about how teaching with technology affects teachers. But I wanted you guys to get a quick little introduction to what that section will be looking like. So as we close out this introduction, there are a few discussion questions that I want everyone to consider whenever they're going through this chapter. And the first one is as technology becomes an integral part of education in the future, how do you see the roles of the teacher and the learner shifting during this change? So, what I mean by that is, as more and more technology is being integrated into the classrooms, the roles of the teacher and the learners are going to change. So, what do you see, or how do you see these roles shifting in the future as it pertains to adding more technology into the classroom? So, how do you see these roles changing or shifting because more schools and more districts are adding more and more technology into the classrooms? And another discussion question that I want everyone to consider is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much of a necessity is it for classrooms to be equipped with individual learning devices for all students? Now, as I mentioned earlier, some schools have, community learning devices for classrooms. But how important do you think it is for each individual learner to have their own learning device um, to be more effective in the classroom? So, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much of a necessity do you think it is for each individual students to have their own device to learn with? And that is going to wrap up our introduction to chapter 12. I want to thank you guys for listening and participating with me.